Hey, what's going on, everybody out there in internet land? This is the Political Brown Kid here, and I'm back with another video. So make sure that you sit back, relax, and enjoy, and be prepared to provide comments because I love comments. Also, like and subscribe. That helps me help you, and that helps me get the word out. And what I want to do today is I want to talk about a video that I made in regards to this red pill phenomenon. Again, like I told you guys, up until last year, last October 2022, I knew nothing about this red pill community. I knew nothing about Passport Bros. I knew nothing about Kevin Samuels. Just got into that information. Um, and what I'm going to say is that I made a video previously, and that video was kind of because I watched a few of these red pill videos. You know how it is when you're online. You get down that rabbit hole. You watch one video, and then all of a sudden, 500 more videos of the same material pops up, and you find yourself sitting at your computer way longer than what you wanted to because you really came there to watch one video, and there you're there all night. You done missed dinner. You done missed everything. But I watched some pretty interesting content from a lot of different content providers in the red pill community. And I kind of debunked or kind of disagreed. I shouldn't say debunked. That's the wrong word. So I apologize. But I disagreed with one of the things that the red pill community says. And that was in regards to older women needing a man and how hitting the wall affects women. But this video, I'm actually going to do something that I agree with the red pill community on. I actually agree with them on a lot of few topics, but I just want to cover this one particular thing. And what I agree with them on is that modern women are not marriage material. And let me back that statement up. Let me provide a little bit more specificity to that. Modern women aren't marriage material in the traditional sense of having a traditional marriage, or should I say a traditional American marriage, because I'm in America, so let me particularly state that and be specific. Or Christian, even to get more specific, even a Christian marriage. And the reason why that is because, as Kevin Samuels stated, and I checked his facts, and his facts are correct, and even I can speak from experience on that, is that women file for divorce at an alarmingly higher rate than what men do. They file at I think it's 70, close to 80%. They're the ones who are filing, and they're the ones who are leaving. Not to say that the men are perfect in the marriage and that men are happy, but men kind of have that understanding, and they kind of strategically and cerebrally think things. Where I've even talked to a few women, because now since I'm gone through my domestic transition, I've talked to a few women, and they've all said the same thing. When I've asked them who filed, they said, I did. And then a lot of times I've asked them, why did you file? And it was like, it was about the feelings. They were angry, they were hurt. And so they let their emotions get the better of them, because that's what they do. And I'm not faulting them for that, but because that's the way they are. I'm kind of faulting them to a degree. I'm critiquing it, and then they file. And then regardless of what the kids' situations are, they file. And I was talking to this one girl, and now she's kind of wondering why the husband doesn't want anything to do with the kids or her two daughters. And I did a video on that, so you want to go check that one out. Definitely check that out, about men kind of abandoning or stepping away from their kids, after a relationship breakup. And we kind of talked about that. But the reason why modern women just aren't marriage materials, because there's really kind of two things, and I touched on it first video, and I'll touch on it right now to make this point, is that they really don't need a man for pleasure, protection, and for provision. So I've already touched on that. Go look that video up. They don't need any of that from us anymore. They make their own money. There's enough toys and on-demand porn and sexual related content for them to pleasure themselves. And modern women, they have jobs, they make their own money, and they're paying their own bills. So that's kind of in contrast to when you look at the nameless generation, which was the generation that preceded the baby boomers. though, your mothers and your grandmothers back in those days, they took care of the house, so they didn't make the money. So they had that complementary relationship where it was like, I'll raise the 8, 9 kids that are helping us share crop and work the land. You go out and make the money. And they had this separation of duties, and they had those values. The relationship wasn't perfect, but they understood that. And the women, number one, they kind of really didn't have any other place to go because they were providing, they had these kids, number one, a lot of kids, and also that the man was providing for them financially. So that takes care of the provision, pleasure, and protection aspect. But the other aspect too of why modern women aren't marriage material is because, and this isn't really just about modern women, but I'm just talking specifically to them because they're the ones who predominantly file. But modern women they don't want to be married. They don't fit the biblical traditional sense of values, and they don't live by those biblical traditional senses. And I'm not trying to say that's good, bad, right, or wrong. I'm just saying that that's the way that it is. People do not take the Bible seriously anymore. And I'm going to say this because I'm not a Christian. I'm not affiliated with any of these religions out here. In fact, I'm going to do some sessions and talk about religion. It's probably going to tick a lot of y'all people off. Y'all going to come looking for me on the internet. Y'all really going to come looking for me. But we're going to talk about religion and specifically Christianity. But when you look at the Christian religion, I mean, and I'll just say this as a precursor to my religion comments that I'm going to talk about specifically, is that the Bible, you can't even really take it seriously anymore. 50 years ago, it had a specific stance on homosexuality. And now even the Pope is saying that that's wrong and all are welcome. So it's kind of like, well, which is it? Make your mind up. Well, obviously they made their mind up in today's era. But when you start throwing out your own specific beliefs and standards, and you have no problems with people switching genders, why would you have a problem with a woman or a man walking away from the sacred vows of love and cherish, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, till death do you part? No one takes that seriously. It's just become so easy to just walk away from marriages because, number one, people do not believe in those principles. They don't believe in principles of, no one is ashamed anymore of walking away from a marriage. All of these psychiatrists and psychologists, which, I think to a degree they're helpful, but to a bigger degree they're not, because they encourage people for their own mental health and for mental sanity to walk away, not caring what impact it has on the children in the nuclear family. We don't even use that word anymore, nuclear family. But they encourage people to leave their homes. There's no more shame in anything anymore in society. And there's no more shame in people walking away from marriages. And that is a big problem. It really is a big problem. So when a person does not put their all into a relationship, and we've made it, and then you look at also too, the other aspect of what I'm going to say, the third aspect of this too is because the at least in America, the system, the government plays a part in this. When you go look at the Middle East, which you hear the American government loathing for the way they treat women, because they make it harder for you to walk away. Well, they make it easy for a man to walk away, I do believe, in the Middle East. But they make it hard for marriages to be broken up. But in America, remember back in, people probably don't understand this because I'm from Generation X. I'm a Gen X baby. But what people don't understand is back in, I think, the 80s and before that, in order to get a divorce, you had to be separated out of a home for a year. It was a long, drawn out process. Now, I think even in certain states or districts, you can get a divorce in one day. You can get a divorce in 30 days. They don't drag out the process anymore. In a way, that's an efficiency. That's kind of efficient because if it's over, it's over. If one's walking away, it's walking away. But at the same time, we shouldn't look at things as being, at least marriage as being efficient. We should say to these people, have you tried to work things out? What process or steps did you take to reconcile the marriage? We're not holding people accountable anymore. So when you get rid of those checks and balances and that account from the federal government, and you get rid of the shame and guilt from the cultural aspect of it, and when people don't have that foundation of, what marriage is and what it's supposed to be, and when you have women who, they're their own providers, their own protectors, and they can get their pleasure on demand, there's no purpose in a modern woman staying in a relationship. There's none. The only women that will stay in a relationship are going to be women who have a dependency to be taken care of by a man. Those are the only ones that are going to be there, or a woman who just has a particular value of, men, they have this certain behaviors and certain characteristics. They have those more older values of, a man's going to be a man, and there are certain things that I'll allow or look away from. And you're going to have to, those women are going to have to make those sacrifices, or in order to keep the family apart, or you're going to have a woman looking at it from a more strategic perspective and saying, me walking away, how does this impact my daughter, my son, my children? And what can we do, or at least just to keep the family together? Not to say that we have to be in love, but what can we do to keep this family going? And also, I have to add this in. One of the most important points in the reason why modern women are not marriage material is because they're influenced by too much modern things, and the biggest thing being technology. So let me kind of just explain to you what I mean by that, or give you kind of paint a picture for you. Modern women are influenced by the internet more so than men. Men aren't really on social media. They're on social media, but they're not as obsessed with social media as women are. That's just my personal opinion. I don't have data to back that up. But women, I know a lot of women that I talk to, and a lot of posts that I see online. I'm not even really online like that, but when I see it, and when I was married, I know my wife would talk about it, is all of this stuff about couples goals, empower couples, and they pay attention to these things. They pay attention to social media and see, quote unquote couples goals, and start comparing their relationship to other people's relationships as it appears on the internet. Anybody can make their life seem great on social media, and they start comparing themselves to celebrities and all of these other people online, and it's not realistic. And so they start evaluating their situation and doing comparing and contrasting and saying, well, these people have a great life. They've been together for 30 years, 20 years, 15 years, and they're still madly in love, traveling all over the world. And here I am stuck with this boring guy who just goes to work, comes home, sits on the couch, and we do things, but we're not madly in love with each other anymore. And so that influences them. And the second thing that influences them too is then they start posting, possibly, this is again just a theory, they start listening to a wider sphere of influence because of the internet. Before the internet, if you're from Generation X as I am, we didn't have the internet. So if you had a gripe about a partner that you had, or someone or anything, if you had a gripe about anything, the only people you really talked to was your sphere of influence, which was your friends, possibly family members if you were that close to them, but you really just talked to your friends about it, and you got answers and information and feedback from them. But now in an internet-based world, you can go online and post and say, me and my husband, I'm just giving an example here. Me and my husband aren't in love anymore. He barely touches me, or, we don't make love like we used to. And boom, and you can start posting, or you can start posting gripes that you have about him online. And the answers that you're probably going to get back are, girl, leave them. You're too pretty for that. Girl, leave them. You're better than this. And you're going to get affirmations from people that you don't even know. And they're going to be telling you to leave because there are better things out there. And so the internet and women are more influenced. Again, I'm going to stick by this supposition that I have because it's just my theory. But women are far more influenced by what they see on the internet, and they take, the feedback they get from the internet. They value it a lot more than men do. Men just don't value that type of stuff. So that's also another point in why modern women cannot be, or they're not marriage material, and they can't stay in a marriage. They just won't make it work. They'll be more likely to leave than anything else. And I'm going to end this conversation on this note. If a lot of women, modern women, should definitely check out the videos from Michelle Obama. And, and I'm critical of the Obamas. Overall, I like them, but I found a lot of areas for improvement from them. But Michelle Obama, when she talked about relationships and how relationships are not 50-50 as far as effort, that there's sometimes where she's carrying the load and there's sometimes he's carrying the load, and then sometimes it's relatively equal. And then she got into one conversation where she said, for 10 years, I hated my husband. And she may not have used hate, but I think she said, but she at least said dislike. She said, for 10 years, I really didn't like this joker. But she stayed there because she had kids and she understood the value of raising your kids in a nuclear family. And I'm so glad that she did that video, and she really needs to take that on tour, because it goes to show you that these individuals understand the value of making a relationship work. You're not going to be in love with somebody for 50 years. It's not possible. I shouldn't say it's not possible, because that's an absolute. It's possible, but it's going to be rare. At some point in time, you're going to become just roommates or best friends, and you're going to fall in those periods of in and out of love, or just in and out of like. But you have to make it work, because you went through the process of committing yourself to this other individual. So that's what I agree with the red pill community on. Modern women, they're not marriage material, not in the traditional sense. If you're a more modern guy, I guess, and you're willing to, allow for open marriages, or allow for, just cuckolding. I have no idea what people are into. But if you're open to, those type of leniencies, then maybe a modern woman is marriage material, but she's not marriage material in the traditional sense. So again, let me know what your thoughts are. Definitely put comments in. Definitely hit the like button. Also, forward the video to other people, man. Let everybody know, because I'd like for people to chime in on this conversation. This is the Political Brown Kid. I hope everyone have a good day, and I hope everyone tries to work on your marriage. If you're married, try to work on your marriage, stay in your marriage, understand what your vows were taken for, and understand those vows. And if you're not married and you're looking to be married, definitely ensure that you are ready to be married and commit to another individual, and understand that that relationship is not going to be all roses and sunshine and butterflies. So this is the Political Brown Kid. I'm out of here.